I was a teenage anarchist, but the politics were too convenient. It's VGC, the video game podcast, with me, Jordan Midler, Chris Scullion, and Andy Robinson. This week, Elder Scrolls, Death Stranding, and Microsoft is putting us all out of a job. But first, how's it going, folks? Andy, how are you?
I'm alright, mate. How are you?
I'm very sore.
Your background is very purple today. I should be in your spot. You wouldn't even be able to see me.
Finally, these terrible Chinese floodlights that I bought about 2 years ago that are meant to go outside restaurants to light them up. The app, which I'm pretty sure is spyware, updated to finally let me change both colours. So I'm going for a bit of a Blade Runner thing here. This one's blue, this one's purple. You know, it's to illustrate the conflict.
I bought one recently. I thought I should get some sort of coloured lighting in the background, and it was in the room for about 2 hours, and I just got rid of it.
Yeah. Whenever I finish doing this podcast or any recording, every light goes off and I just sit in complete darkness because otherwise my
cry for
yeah. Why did I make my entire gimmick energy drinks? Chris, how are you?
I'm okay. It's been a long week, but
yeah,
we're seeing the back of it. So
can we get a PC update? Is it broken yet? Have you put your foot through it?
PC's running smoothly, silky smooth. I played a bit of GTA 5, the
hot new release
one, the brand new game.
What are you playing next, mate? Bioshock 2.
You play Bioshock 1 first, like, come on.
Test that Medal of Honor.
For the sake of the plot. No, I will be playing Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
Oh, good. Yeah.
By the way, that's aged really well. Good game.
It's a good game still.
That's an aside.
Scully only got this PC for this new Xbox 360 decompiler, so he's making unofficial PC ports of absolute garbage.
I only bought this PC so that I can play Atari 2600 emulators to the utmost accuracy.
Good. Play them in 15K across the side of a building. I mean, that'd be good fun. Last night, well, the story begins last week when I played football and hyperextended my knee, and then I thought, well, as long as I don't straighten out, it's not blindingly painful. So I played football again last night and hurt myself even more. But if I didn't play football, I would spend my entire life in some kind of Charles Xavierian state of sitting in this chair. So
don't knock it.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of injuries, Chris, you managed to injure yourself sitting down when we saw each other the other night.
I don't know what happened. I mean, you took us to a venue with little tiny stools instead of human adult-sized chairs.
Was it loud as well, Chris?
It was surprisingly quiet for once. It was surprisingly quiet for once.
Yeah.
But yeah, sitting on a stool for too long with my frame didn't kind of work. So when I stood up, I literally pulled something.
The look in your face was amazing. You looked as if you'd shot yourself.
I know. Well, thankfully, I'm always famously clean as a whistle at all times. But yeah, getting up was something sore went off as I stood up.
Yeah.
But I walked it off like a champion because that's how we roll.
That place was bizarre. Andy, we were sitting having drinks, talking all this shit, and it's like a metal bar, so they're playing that kind of music, and then suddenly they start playing the theme from San Andreas over the over the top of the speakers. I'm like, either someone has clocked one of the assembled masses here, or they've overheard what we're all talking about, and they're playing this as a laugh. But we were the only people in that downstairs area.
Yeah.
Poor Aidan Bain, friend of the show. He has a new phone. He's gotten off of social media has poisoned his brain, so he's gotten rid of his smartphone, and he now has a flip phone that only does WhatsApp and texts and stuff like that. And it was made by Cat, the same people that make bloody diggers and things like that. So he was very proud of this phone. Naturally, all of his good friends took the absolute piss out of him and started throwing it about the bar and putting it on the pool table and potting it into the corner. Still survived, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, it's a good advert for Cat phones. If you're into heavy duty phones that do fuck all, then you're sorted.
Maybe we'll get a sponsorship with it. I'm not sure many people who want to sponsor on this podcast would accept the description of it does fuck all, but alas, I have an energy drink review, Chris, and it's going to break the mold. We've never done this before. I got this niche energy drink. It's called Red Bull. I believe it's from the Red Bull company, who I think they own a couple of football teams. This was bottled in Seven Dials Warehouse in Elmham Street in London. Distribution for the Republic of Ireland. The problem with Red Bull is they're so established they don't need any shite on the side of the bottle. You know what the side of the can. You know what a Red Bull is. Served chilled, carbonated. Let's get going.
Did you serve it chilled? Is this chilled?
This is chilled. This is straight for the wee Morrisons.
I'm glad you followed the instructions.
I mean, you know what
It's
a Red Bull a Red Bull reminds me of, Chris? When you're in like a service station, well, not a service station because they've usually got good options. When you're somewhere and they've got one energy drink option and it's Red Bull, and you go, I'll get a Red Bull. It's fine. It's default. It's like what is. I was going to say it's like tap water, but that would put you off. It's perfectly. Yeah, it's perfectly okay. I shan't be finishing that bottle because I have my chaser Rockstar Brazil, which is currently the number one stunner. Andy, you've been drinking energy drinks recently. How's the old heart going?
Yeah, getting some old heart palpitations. So if I'm not on the next podcast,
push through them. You've got to
replace me with a giant monster sponsorship.
Yeah, replace you with the Doug. It was, at some point it stops affecting you. The heart palpitations go. The crashes.
You got to drink through them.
Yeah, push through it. That's it.
It's like when you're out on a night. When we were out the other night, I had about 6 pints, and I was like, right, I need to go up the road, and then I decided to have about 3 more, and that pushed me into the happiness zone. So all was well.
Speaking of Red Bull, a few weeks back I tried Carabao.
Oh yeah,
on here and
sponsors of the Carabao Cup.
Remarked that
are they?
Remarked that it tastes exactly like Red Bull, but my local Morrisons was selling off multiple flavors of it, so I thought I'd try Carabao or Carabao Orange Blast.
Oh yeah, give me that Orange Blast.
Yeah, there's a joke there which I won't tell because it's in bad taste. It's assuming it'll just be Carabao only orange.
I always look at Carabao because it's an Asian drink, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it always gives me like Thai Red Bull vibes. You know, like the real Red Bull that's got like speed in it.
So it claims
I had to have like a
bottle.
sit down.
It claims to be a great tasting sparkling orange flavoured energy drink with taurine, caffeine, B vitamins with sugars and sweeteners.
Oh.
And 2 grams of cocaine.
Yeah, sweeteners are always a killer.
Considering Chris can't drink water, I'm surprised they can invite fruit.
If they did Monster Water Edition.
How is it?
Do you know it tastes more orangey than most of these orange flavoured things? It tastes like there clearly isn't actual orange juice in it, but it tastes more like it.
Real
do you know what it's like? This is a very deep dive. Do you remember when Lucozade used to do sweets and they were like chalky tablets?
Oh yeah,
and they were orange flavour. It tastes like them.
They get passed about the primary school playground like they were Eckies. Those were the secret stuff. I wonder if you mashed up a load of those Lucozade tablets and put them in a Monster, what kind of evening you could have. Because I feel like that could. I felt that way when we had the 5-hour energy gamer edition shots in LA last year. I was like, how many of these could you really have before things started going south? Especially as a hardened drinker. I'm essentially the Lemmy of the Monster Energy world. Where
Lemmy Cooper.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm the Lemmy as in I'm dead.
I apologise for making a video game reference.
Yeah,
within the first 20 minutes, and I realised that's not the done thing. But
God rest them. If you'd like more podcast videos, support the site, ad-free browsing, get Andy a new palace, patreon.com/video games chronicle. Lots of good stuff up there. You can follow along with me and Chris playing through Split Fiction. The first episode is up there. They're coming monthly. New episode of CVG, Chris. You want to lay that out for all the old heads?
Yeah, we were recently discussing the world of working in games magazines. Myself, Mr. Andy Robinson, Mr. Mike Jackson, and Mr. Paul Davies all discussed. Basically, between us, we realised that between us, our career spanned the early 90s all the way up to the kind of essential death of most magazines. So, it's a good chat. Lots of anecdotes, lots of humour, and if you watch the video version, there's loads of kind of scans of old.
I honestly think it's the best extra podcast we've done.
Yeah, it was a good one.
So if you've not signed up for the Patreon yet, I definitely think it's worth doing so to watch that. I think it's brilliant. We're going to do another one as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those where it went on so long that we just had to stop and agree that we do another part.
Yeah, but there's definitely.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So
all good.
I would like as a consumer of this podcast, I would like an episode maybe in the future. Both of you recruit people that were around as everything was going to shit and the websites were closing and the magazines were closing. What it was like on the deathbed of magazines, I think
that's also us.
Yeah, that's us.
No, I mean, I presume was Paul and
Mate,
Mike
I turned the lights out. I was the last one out of the building.
Yeah,
I went around rummaging through their black sacks of stuff they chucked out, pulling out like collector's editions and things that I might fancy.
Yeah, but you need the people that were side by side with you in that. I presume, did Mike and Paul, had they pissed off by that point, or were they still there?
They were well gone. Yeah, well gone.
Whatever sacks were still kicking a ball then. Right, let's get into some news because some big stuff happened this week. Story number one: Bethesda's Oblivion Unreal 5 engine remake could be releasing sooner than you think. It's the worst kept secret in the world, but there's an Oblivion remake coming soon from Virtuous. Nate the Hate said this was happening. Guess what? It's happening, and it could be in April. That's according to a website called Video Games Chronicle. Is apparently developed by Virtuous, who are the same folk doing this Metal Gear 3 Delta Snake Eater Dub Edition, and it will be as previously stated in Unreal Engine 5. I feel kind of conflicted about this, Chris Scullion. Oblivion, I remember it fondly, but it was also like one of the first games I got from a 360, so I don't know if it was just a case of, wow, this is amazing, this is an HD RPG. An HD RPG that will maybe not hold up spectacularly, but do you think this will be enough for the Oblivion heads? Enough for the Elder Scrolls heads that are waiting 40 years for the next one?
Maybe. I mean, I'll put my cards on the table. Oblivion's one that's on my backlog.
It's on the backlog.
It has been since it came out. But I mean, I think Elder Scrolls fans will just be happy to not see Skyrim again.
Yeah,
it would just be a nice change. Just to, but yeah, you're right. It depends how different it is, because like taking a game that old doesn't always work. Like I wasn't a big fan of Fable's Anniversary Edition thing. That felt quite. That kind of exposed how kind of dated the first Fable was, I think, when it came out. Whereas you then get something like the Master Chief Collection's kind of the enhanced version of Fable, the first Halo. I thought was actually really good. I really enjoyed that. So it depends. We need to wait and see basically how different it's going to look. If it's Unreal 5, you would hope there's some sort of kind of hefty visual upgrade to complete. We're hoping for a remake rather than a remaster. I
think as far as when it was discussed previously, when I first heard rumblings, it was described to me as it's the original game running underneath like pretty graphics, which I suppose makes sense because the amount of money you would need to invest to like fully remake Oblivion is mental. So I think it's probably more in the remaster camp, especially if what we're hearing is true, and this could be a shadow drop in April. You don't shadow drop a full remake of a game. Like for a remaster, you kind of do.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Although we're saying Virtuous, who also did Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. So when we say it's out in April, that means November. Yeah,
November 2027.
To be fair, that's more Konami. That's more Konami than them. I mean, didn't they did it with Silent Hill, right?
Yeah.
I quite admire that. I think few people can criticize the new Konami for actually keeping stuff in development until it's good, because that was their problem before, right?
Definitely.
Having played the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, I'm quite confident because that was exactly what you wanted it to be, as my preview said. So I could see them doing this pretty well. I think that the Elder Scrolls and Fallout are in weird situations, both of them, because you presume Bethesda are working on 6 for the Elder Scrolls. We've talked about this before, but does that mean Fallout's like Fallout 5 is like a 2031 game? We're going to have to get to the point where Microsoft goes, we didn't buy you to not put Fallout games out, so we're going to just have to give Fallout 5 to someone.
I mean, I would be stunned if someone isn't working on a Fallout somewhere. I mean, the series obviously been incredibly successful. As you say, they've spent all this money on these guys. They haven't done it for a new game in 10 years. Tony Hawk, to our knowledge, was dead. I mean, Tony Hawk came out and said that it's as much, and obviously they've very quickly, seemingly on the turnaround, put that into development. This game, I think, was already in development before the deal because it came out in the court docs. But yeah, I'd be amazed if someone isn't working on Fallout something somewhere.
Yeah. Even if what they're doing to Oblivion, they're also doing to New Vegas, like at the same time that we don't know about yet. Something like that. Even just a new remaster or a kind of enhanced remake or something, just to keep fans ticking over with something. Well,
there's been chat of a 3 remake for a long time, and I think you would maybe do 3. I think Bethesda would maybe do 3 because that's their one. They always treated New Vegas so weirdly because I think they had a big chip on their shoulder about it being the best Fallout game, and they didn't make it. Yeah. So we'll see. I fully expect that there's a Fallout New Vegas 2 in development, or there's an Obsidian-led Fallout going on right now. That's certainly been the chatter. But yeah, it's the whole Elder Scrolls thing's interesting because you imagine, is this like Elder Scrolls 6 must be Todd Howard's like either last or second to last game in his position because he's not a young guy in these games.
I think there's a lot. I mean, it's not a lot of people kind of stop and do the math, on this sort of stuff. I think there's a lot of famous creators who are currently working on their last game.
Yeah.
If you consider that these games take up to 10 years to make.
Yeah.
Especially at Nintendo, sadly. I tweeted it not too long ago. This is the last generation for the Famicom creators because they're all at or approaching retirement age. I think you're going to see a lot of those people retire very, very soon. I mean, and a lot of those series entries will be like the ones coming up. So it's a period of big change.
Oh yeah, we are going to experience a really wide. You saw this kind of with the Atari generation of devs and that kind of when they started passing away. But we are going to cover a ridiculous amount of massively high profile developer deaths, and it's natural to the age of the industry that would happen. But also I saw an interesting point recently about Neil Druckmann's been saying that he's not sure he's going to do another Last of Us, and someone was like, he's definitely had a taste of the freedom you get when you work on TV and stuff compared to how shackled you are when you work on video games, and he thought, sack this, I can go and do something else. I thought that was kind of an interesting perspective.
Also the freedom that he now has within, I mean, he's the boss, he's the studio head of Naughty Dog, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at like God of War, for example, is it Cory Barlog decided not to do the sequel because he didn't want to spend, he's like, I've only got so many more games in me.
Yeah. It's about like, I can't imagine dedicating 10 years of your life to something, especially in a climate where one, it could come out and get absolutely panned and be a total disaster, or it could go for 5 years and then get cancelled and you're not allowed to show anything from it. Like, it must be so mentally taxing.
That's the thing that saddens me now more than anything when a game gets cancelled. Obviously, it'd be nice to have played the game, but it's the fact that these games are taking so long to make now, and you only get one life. And like you'd like at the end of your life to be able to point back and say, that's what I worked on. So if you've spent 5 to 6 years of your life working on something and then nobody ever gets to see it, that must be absolutely soul destroying.
I was thinking about it because we were talking about Capcom the other day in the Slack, and we looked at what's the name for like a filmography for software.
Softography.
Yeah, something like that. And some of these Japanese boys have like 20 games on it and stuff like that. Like can never really be the case again. Like,
I think it also helps for in that case. In Japan, you're sort of like when you come out, you're a graduate out of college, and you kind of have arranged meetings with all the companies, and the understanding is you're getting a job for life, basically. Like, I mean, there's a lot of loyalty there. They don't historically haven't had to deal with a lot of the stuff that Western devs have, which is, I was working on this game for 3 years and it got cancelled and they closed the studio and they sold us to these guys and then I couldn't get a job. And so they've got consistency on their side on that one. But yeah, I mean, it's a big issue, right? I mean, some the more positive developers, like in the indie space, like I spoke to Davide Soliani, the Mario plus Rabbids creative director, recently. So he started an indie studio, and he started it with a chap who was a writer on and designer on Red Dead Redemption, and more recently he was writing on Perfect Dark, the new Perfect Dark reboot. And their argument was sort of like, well, the way we see it is the film, you know, we're entering the kind of like the indie movement, the art house movement in Hollywood, right? And there's an argument for that. That was one of the reasons why I was always so excited to work around games, is that we were at like silent movie period. Like no one knew what the hell this medium was and what the business was, and it would change like every 5 to 10 years. There'll be a radical change, and kind of working around that was always like really exciting. So, you know, maybe we are approaching what the final, you know, kind of stage looks like. Maybe they're right. Maybe all of the stuff that we know from our generation, that we know and love from games, like, you know, lots of new releases with new ideas, and it is going to come from the indie space now. Maybe AAA is going to be about basically sports, because that's what these games are, right? You look at what people are playing, the top 20 games, which take up more than half of playtime, according to the annual reports that come out. They're basically sports, right? They're not movies. We spent, you know, all of our youth around the games industry. The industry was chasing Hollywood, right? It was a Hollywood model. You're going to buy a game, consume, move on to the next one, right? Yeah. Whereas it's not like that now. They're basically, you know, Fortnite, Minecraft, etc. These are sports teams that people buy into, and they just stick with those. Yeah. And they certainly react on social media like they're following a sports team as well.
The ultras.
Game's gone. I'm a 1 versus 100 ultra.
Listen, don't play with my dreams like that.
I'll try my best not to.
They literally say that was coming out.
Yeah.
Phil Spencer said it
multiple times.
Yeah. Wink, 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 and then winking all the way to the bank.
Yeah. probably made the whole team redundant.
Yeah, exactly.
And then bought someone else for 50 billion.
They went from 100 to none.
Well, if they wanted to make a new 1 versus 100, they could implement some AI. Story number 2, Microsoft is introducing an Xbox AI that helps players finish games. Copilot for Gaming is described as a, quote, AI-driven sidekick, which is designed to be your personalized gaming companion. Players will be able to use the service to, quote, get to their favorite games faster and get coaching to improve their skills and connect to their friends. An example showed a player playing Minecraft, picking up some wood, and then entered a text prompt asking, okay, I've got some wood. What can I do with that? Copilot for Gaming.
That's always my opening gambit.
Copilot for Gaming then opened a certain website and then replied telling players to open their inventory, place oak logs into a crafting area, turn them into wooden planks. One other example showed an AI analyzing the player's situation and offering advice. The player is shown in the character select screen in an Overwatch game, asking the AI what to do when their favourite character, Echo, has already been chosen. Quote, Echo's taken, but Cassidy would be a solid pick with this team, the AI replies. Andy, where is Microsoft getting all this cunning information about?
There's a follow-up article on IGN where they speak to, I believe it's Jason, the platform head, but I cannot, skimming it, see who they are actually talking to, so forgive me. But they Rebecca Valentine on IGN reports that probably the biggest use cases touted by Microsoft available at launch is Copilot as a gaming assistant. You can already ask Copilot questions about games anytime on PC, such as how to beat a boss or solve a puzzle, and it will source answers via Bing from various online guides, websites, wikis, and forums.
We don't know then.
So it's not clear where they're getting it from, but, you know, unless they... Look, the way that Xbox works now, I wouldn't be surprised if they do go and hire a load of the games industry's, the games media's guides writers, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have to look very deep to see that they have taken the games media in-house. There's a very Stockholm syndrome. Xbox, for me, is like the Arsenal of video games, right? They've just been so fairly criticised for a long time that they're now, like, it feels like they're incapable of anything other than defense mode. Mm-hmm. So they took all of the media in-house. They hired some very, very super talented guys from journalism for Xbox Wire, for their podcasts, etc. They have the boss of IGN, who kind of does their podcasts and is very, very senior. So now there's this. You don't, I can't help but look that they don't speak to the media a lot. Xbox, especially compared to the other companies. They, Phil Spencer does his rounds with, he's kind of they're his personal favorites.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact that it's driven by him when he does a podcast, etc. It's not kind of some strategy. So they don't really seem. I get the vibe, the strong vibe, and there is reasons for me to believe that they're not particularly up on kind of the games media. You can see Phil Spencer recently saying, I think it was one of the podcasts, someone asked him, like, what do you want to ask us? It might be an Xbox era. And he said, like, oh, how does the games media survive? And what is this thing?
Patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle.
So if they're like, I mean, everyone knows who's in or around the games media that the money has been made for a long time from guide content, right? It's very searchable. It's very evergreen. So this is like one of the final hammers, right? If they're like just sticking it's scraping, people's guides content and putting it into their console, which, to be clear, it doesn't look like they've actually confirmed that they are doing that.
Yeah.
But unless they've, I don't know, it's like, it's almost, they could argue as well that it's, should we, if they are doing that, should we feel particularly, more or less annoyed about it? Because AI is here. AI is doing that. It's already being summarized left, right, and center. Our content is being, robbed for this stuff. It is kind of like a situation where, as well, that it's just capitalism eating itself again, isn't it? They only care about the next year. I mean, features like this are like amazing until all the sources of the information go bust. And there's nowhere to scrape it from again, and they're scraping more AI slop. It's a little bit depressing, isn't it?
Hey Xbox, where can I find the Pokemon Prismatic Evolution Super Premium Collection? Well, let me tell you.
But you know what, as well, like the other point is, and I've had a conversation with Phil. I'm sure he won't. Well, I guess it doesn't matter if he minds. But I've spoken to him about AI in the past, like just in personal conversations. And something that kind of came out of it from some of the people in the conversation was that AI has been around for quite a while in some areas, like music, right? AI's computers have been able to make original music, in quotes, for a long time. But it's not like that industry was turned upside down, right? Oh, we don't need musicians now. We can just pump out, the computer can make the tune, because people don't buy music because the tune's good. They buy it because they're buying into like a personality, to an idea. That's inherently a big part of music. And I think that is now probably a big part of the kind of the games outlets that are left. I mean, you're seeing us as well. Like, we never used to do video or podcasts at all. We were a news site. And then now probably the biggest part of what we do is a face in front of the camera, directly engage with our readers through Patreon or through the podcast.
It's interesting because in a sense we've kind of almost gone through this with some elements of games. There was a big, when you think about like 5-6 years ago, procedural generation was the big thing. Oh, our games are procedural generated, Spelunky and all this kind of stuff like that. And for a while people thought, this is brilliant, this means games are never ending, blah, blah, blah. But then people were like, actually, I quite like my games to be kind of created by, I like my levels to be created by a human being. Kind of planned all this stuff. So in a sense, we've already gone for a bit of this generative AI thing, because in a sense that's what it is. It's AI that's using the information that's fed to it on what a stage should look like, and then create its own stuff. So it's kind of, it's not a new thing in games. It's just becoming more widespread.
I mean, it's not a particularly great vibe from Microsoft at the moment. I mean, they have to do it. I think you're really seeing recently in the last couple of years in Microsoft, right? Less so. Like, I've covered Xbox since they started, and there was never. I mean, there was never like. Obviously, they're owned by Microsoft, and you get stuff like sneaking in. Like, you'd have like Bing is on the, Bing is or Skype is on the Xbox One, Snap, or but a 360. You get games for Windows and things like that. But not so much now, where it does feel like, the it's the horse and cart thing, right? Like it does feel like Windows is the real initiative now, and any mega corporation like Microsoft needs to be doing AI, because that's the buzzword, right? In the endless pursuit for growth at all costs. AI is the latest one, so they have to chuck AI down our throats no matter what it's doing. I mean, that AI, that auto-generated thing they did with Ninja Theory, just looked absolute shite, didn't it? Like, just absolute slop. Like, I don't know what they were expecting. The reaction, like, "Hey, everyone, look, we're potentially, kind of cannibalizing all of your jobs to create this shit." And I spoke to some devs about that as well, and they were like, "That's never going to be a thing." Maybe, and to your point, maybe there'll be like a Minecraft type thing where it's like, oh, you can generate your own stuff with your like user generated content thing. These are all, it's great for tools. It's tools for, I know a lot of studios use AI for concept art ideas now. Like, hey, like I got this idea, and they'll spit something out, but they'd never use it in the game, right? Or at least most of them wouldn't.
I mean, I could see an argument for it. This is distant future stuff. I don't think this is going to happen in the next week or anything, but the way it's that weird ninja theory thing is at least showing how it's training AI to understand what a game is and how a game runs, even if the output is shit. But I can see it being used for this guide thing, where if you keep dying in a game, the AI can literally say, you keep going this way, and making an arse of it. Whereas I can see that if you go that other way, there's nothing there. Why don't you do that? So it's still putting guide writers out of a job, but rather than pulling from their kind of pool of work, once all the guide writers no longer have jobs, it's then going to
and also to be clear, I'm sure there was some talk about this when PlayStation did its thing on PS5. Right, PS5 has had guides since launch. Those cards. Have you ever used them?
They've literally taken them out.
Have they taken them out?
We're pro gamers.
So, like, I mean, they're putting guides. I remember some talk about this at the time. Oh, the guides all over. They've killed the media. They put guides in. I never used it once. If you need to use, first of all, the whatever the hell they call it, their, XMB, their UI is absolute shite. So trying to pull that thing in is like trying to swim through treacle to get a guide when I can get my phone out, which is next to me, and just type, where is this thing?
The only thing that stuff was useful for was, and they only really ever implemented it well in first party games, was like if you're playing Spider-Man or whatever, it would pop up and be like, you have 2 of these specific missions left, click this card, and because of the way Spider-Man was built, you'd be there like immediately. But
yeah, that was cool. I have used that. Yeah,
much like the controller features, if you're not first party, you're not fucking wasting development time on making fancy controller features that only one platform is going to have. So it's it was never used. Chris, you had something for us on
I've got good news for you, gentlemen. I did a bit of research before this. AI will potentially steal our guides.
Good,
but it can't steal our patter.
Yep.
Because I've done a wee experiment. You may have seen earlier in the week, if you follow my socials, that that pop starlet Megan Trainor has teamed up with Nintendo, and she gave a very natural sounding quote, which was definitely her words. And her quote that she said was, "Teaming up with Nintendo, it's the most iconic thing I've ever done, I think, and my husband is a huge fan as well, so this was a no-brainer for us. We are celebrating Mario Day, March 10th, and we're just trying to get the amazing word out there that Nintendo launched a Nintendo Switch OLED model bundle featuring Super Mario Bros. Wonder and a 3-month individual membership to Nintendo Switch Online."
Yep.
So we're trying to tell everyone about that. Thanks, Megan. Yep. So naturally, when you post about this on Twitter, you try and think of a funny jibe. So and as a master punsmith, I tried to think of a pun that was suitable for this. I couldn't come up with one, because literally the only thing of note that I can remember her for is that All About That Bass. So the best I could come up with was, if she ever plays GoldenEye, she's all about that basement, no odd job. And I thought, that's not funny. That's why I didn't tweet it. Don't worry, that's why I didn't tweet it.
That's stretch.
So I decided to see whether Microsoft's own Copilot, the Irish version. Hey, Copilot, can you tell me a thing or two about puns? So I asked Copilot, can you give me any puns about Megan Trainor teaming up with Nintendo to promote their games? And it responded with 5 utter shite.
Go on then.
Examples. So here, top 5 Copilot's attempts at writing puns on Megan Trainor teaming with Nintendo. Number 1, Megan Trainor levels up with Nintendo. Seems that she's all about that Joy-Con. Right, next. This one's even worse. This partnership with Nintendo is meganificent. Trainers clearly hitting Super Smash hits.
Brilliant.
Right, and then number 3. Looks like Megan Trainor has gone full 8-bit and we're here for it. It's not even puns.
That's a Google Explore headline.
2 more. Megan's partnership with Nintendo is anything but game over. This duo is winning. That almost sounds like Charlie Sheen at the end. And then finally, from music charts to Mario Kart, Megan Trainor's got the ultimate combo.
Give me less Megan Trainor and give me more Wii Fit Trainer. Thank you very much.
There we go. That's it. That's it.
AI is never going to take my job because they couldn't do it as incompetently as I can. AI future, bad stuff. Thanks, Megan. We'll get her on the podcast any day now to talk about.
I've then asked it. I've got it still up here. There's an option underneath it about other kind of things you can follow up with, and one of them is, can we turn this into a pun off? And it says, challenge accepted. I'll start. Megan Trainor and Nintendo. It's a Switch made in heaven. And then it says, your move, James. Well, I'm quite clearly established as Chris on this PC. You can't even get my name right. Well, we're safe. Our jobs are safe.
Don't worry, mate. No one can get my name right, apparently. Next story, before the break, very quickly. We speculated about this last week, but Tony Hawk 4 won't have the story mode. It will just have 2-minute runs. Chris, that seems a bit odd, but
we're not going to talk about Tony Hawk again, are we?
Very quickly. We've got 2 minutes to talk about this. Chris, this is a bit weird. This is less of a remake and more of a reimagining of Tony Hawk 4. Do you think this is because there is problematic missions in that, like when you're collecting ladies of the night as a godfather?
Quite possibly. Was that the one that also had Ollie the Bums?
I believe so, yeah.
Way to jump over homeless people. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy anyway because I prefer the timed runs, so I know that's sacrilege to say that it's not the original game, but I'm up for it.
Fair. Andy, give me a noise. Any noise? There we go. After this, we will have stories about Lego, stories about Hideo Kojima, and another wonderful quiz by our Discord members. Patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle, and we'll see you in a minute. And we are back. Story number 4, Lego is starting to bring its game development in-house. This is according to the big Danish man himself, Lego's chief executive, Niels Christensen, which is the most Danish name possible. This is a weird situation because obviously when you say Lego games, everyone thinks of the TT, but it's Traveler's Tales to me, those kind of action-adventure games, but those have pretty much dried up. They're making a Harry Potter one, but apart from that, and now we're kind of stuck with 2K Drive and the long missing in action 2K Goal, and of course Lego Fortnite. What do you think about this move, Chris? When I posted this in the chat, you had some consternation about the potential of Lego going in-house in the Lego house.
Let me just quickly point out that did you know that Denmark and Norway put barcodes on all their ships?
Why?
So they can Scandinavian. I'm thinking it's an interesting one because I don't know what's going to happen with. Obviously, it seems like the TT games era, if it isn't completely dead, it's the priority is long. It's been deprioritized quite substantially if they're taking a lot of stuff in house. It really depends on who's going to be making them because they're going to have to bring a developer in. It's not like there's a squad of game developers who've been sitting there at Lego going, I'm bored of making bricks. This is what I signed up for. So they're going to. It depends on who they actually get to make these games. Are they going to get XTT members? Like the mob that just did Funko Fusion are now, by all accounts, a lot of them kind of. That studio is in dire straits, if not some of them have been let go. I need to double check that because Funko Fusion didn't do well at all.
Despite your best efforts.
Despite my best efforts. So they could be grabbing some of them, hopefully, and that's pure speculation, but that would make sense. If I was Stephen Lego, I would say, look, these guys left TT Games to make their own take on it. It hasn't gone well for them. Let's bring them over because they've got a track record and they know what a Lego game should be.
Let me tell you, who currently owns TT Games? Warner Brothers. Who wants to get rid of everything? Warner Brothers. I could totally see them selling TT to Lego and just making them their their in-house team. Like that feels like too natural.
Which makes complete sense, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it couldn't have been any better for Lego. 15, nearly 20 years worth of, hit games. They were critically great. They're commercially successful.
Yeah.
How could it possibly? I just don't see what. I mean, okay, the Fortnite collaboration shows kind of what they can do when they work with other people.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, if they bring TT Games in house, they can kind of have both of it.
Yeah. I think
bring back Lego Dimensions. There it is.
Bring back Lego Island, where you play as the guy delivering pizzas. The guy, I think that pizza shop was called Briccolini, which doesn't really work as a pun. We could write a great Lego game, Chris, me and you. It'd be not suitable for public consumption, but it'd be funny at least. Yeah, I could totally see this happening. The one stumbling block is, I think, when this Lego Harry Potter, the Specky collection comes out and will inevitably do brilliantly, Warner might be like, oh, well, one of the things we're still making is Harry Potter, so... but you can't really make another one of those if the entire premise of that game is here is every ball hair that's ever been published. I mean,
if Lego takes it in-house, and if they were to get some sort of TT style setup, then there's nothing to stop them just licensing it out like they do with their sets. I mean, like they could say, "Oh, we're making some Lego Sonic stuff. Hey, Sega, how about we make a game with you as well at the same time?" Or anytime they do their Lego Marvel sets, they'll say, "Let's." I mean, they're the kings of licensing anyway, so it's not wild to think that if they brought a TT Games or someone like that in-house, it wouldn't actually end up being massively different to what's been going on for the past 2 decades. It could just be they have more control over what IPs are used.
In the same way that Epic bought Harmonix and put them to work on the Fortnite Festival stuff, I kind of expected them to pick up TT, or at least most of TT, to work on the Lego stuff as well. But yeah, it's interesting. At a point, I really loved those games. I played the Lego games even for franchises I didn't care about because they just worked for me. I really like the Skywalker saga, but if it's the last Lego game I ever play, I wouldn't be too gutted about that. It felt like, I wrote this in my review, it felt like a finale for that entire era, because it felt like they were like, okay, we're not going to get another chance to make one of these. Let's go mental with it. And that game sold amazingly. So I
mean, I apologize. I realize I'm going about Dimensions a lot, but
here we go.
No, but the reason I do that is because that seemed to be the perfect kind of ending point for the Lego game thing, because it was getting to the point where people were saying, well, what can they do next? Lego this, Lego that, Lego this. And it was basically just name the IP. And I think they realized quickly that not every IP works in that Lego structure, because back in the day, the Lego formula was you need to have at least 3 movies. And then the hub links to all those movies, then you get all the characters, and then they all kind of... I think they realized that, well, why don't we just do a wee ET world and an Adventure Time world and a Powerpuff Girls world and a Knight Rider world, and let us do all the shit we want to try without having to commit a full game to it. And it had the potential to just be the plan going forward. It's just a shame that they added Toys to Life to it, because that's what killed it. I think if that had been a DLC basis, I think we'd still be seeing stuff being added to Lego Dimensions to this day. Like £15 or £20 packs, which were essentially small games being added to it. But shame.
I always thought I would have loved them to do a proper Lego Simpsons game. I thought that was such a natural fit. The Simpsons, I would say, is a top 5 underused potential games license. I know that Tapped Out made billions of dollars for the decade it was going, but no console Simpsons game since the Simpsons game. That's
this again. That's what I'm saying. Lego Dimensions is the best Simpsons game released in the past 20 years, because every character
the only Simpson game we're releasing.
Pretty much that's why it's no Tapped Out. That's because every character has got their own open world as well. So there's you could walk around all of Lego Springfield, and it's like so many people missed out on that because it wasn't marketed well enough that's what it was.
Did they have a Lego Maison Derriere?
Do you know, I couldn't confirm, but there are plenty of in jokes regardless, Bordello or otherwise.
Okay, we've got a lot from the Discord, so this story number 5, I would like a noise from both of you as a reaction. Death Stranding 2 is coming out on June 24th if you have the early access version, and June 26th if you have the pleb version. Andy, give me a noise. Chris, give me a noise.
That was the noise of my shoulders shrugging at rapid speed.
That's very fast. Kojima clearly didn't get my text. My birthday's on the 29th, not the 26th. But alas, let's get to the Discord. Hideo Kojima himself with a question. What game from before you were a journalist do you wish you were able to review at its time of release? Mine is Brutal Legend, because I've never been so disappointed in a game in my entire life. I would like to have given that 1 out of 100 if I was reviewing this for a cheap games mag. Did they actually have video games before you two were journalists, or was it just
good?
In your nappies with your PS4.
No, I just freeballed it, mate. I never wore anything. Just shout up the street.
It's funny you say that, because my immediate thought in response to that question was, I don't wish I reviewed anything. Reviewing a game doesn't make it. Reviewing a game makes the experience worse, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, this is a game I love. I wish I could have turned it into my job. Like, I've worked with loads of people in my journalism career who have actively said, please review that game because I want to play it. You know, like big Nintendo fans or something like that would be like, please review, the Mario game because I want to spend my own time on it. Let's say Chris has done that, right? You'd rather experience the Mario games than make it your job. So therefore, I'm on your line of thinking. It would be something that I would have liked to have given a kicking that everyone else loved. Probably, like the one that comes to mind that everyone praises is the GameCube first party Mario and Zelda games. Wind Waker,
Sunshine.
Like, it's just, they're good games, but when you review a Nintendo game, right? I'm like, and this is how I think when I'm scoring them, even today, you're operating on Nintendo scale.
Yeah.
When I give it a 3, it's like, but you gave this game a 3. I'm comparing it, like, if Super Mario Bros. Wonder is a 5, then, this game is this Kirby, whatever game I'm reviewing, or like, Mario vs. Donkey Kong is a 3 or a 2, very squarely. It's not a bad game, but I'm on a Nintendo scale here.
Yeah.
But Wind Waker, I didn't get it's a great game, but it's very flawed as well in its structure, I think.
See, I'm kind of the opposite. I would like, because you've both cited games that you would like to have had the opportunity to tell people this is crap, by the way. Whereas I would have liked the one thing I always hated when I was growing up reading magazines was the complete disrespect that wrestling games were shown by a lot of magazines. So I'd love to go back and review something like No Mercy and give it like a high 90s and say, look, seriously, for people who give a shit, because all you would get, you go through the history. See when the Video Game History Archive Foundation makes its library even larger and kind of adds more magazines to it. If you just search later, and when that's a bigger library, if you search for the phrase greased up men in pants hugging each other, you will find 400 reviews from different British games magazines, because they just said the same thing over and over again. Oh, it's all a bit gay, isn't it, wrestling? And it's like, a lot of them, as a wrestling fan reading those reviews, it was like, well, you're not helping me here. Is the game actually any good? So I'd like to go back and review wrestling games with more actual information.
I suppose the other side, spinning off of that, it'd be nice to have championed something unknown that became a hit, right? Mm-hmm. That's always a good feel. Like if you were the first guy to go, you need to play Balletro or Rez or Castle Crashes or
shove your that's one actually. I wish I worked at this website when that dick reviewed Balan Wonderworld, because there's no way that game's higher than a 1 star. It's absolute garbage that barely works. I'd rather play, what was the name of that Platinum game that I battled?
I'm pretty sure me and Chris debated that for ages.
I
was like, surely this is lower.
It's a misunderstood game by a misunderstood auteur.
It's pish, and he deserves the jail. He deserved the jail for that.
That was why he got jailed. He got jailed for making it. Disclaimer: he didn't actually get jailed.
I'm sure he's got bigger fish to fry than to come after this pot. He's welcome to come on the podcast.
He's after money, clearly. Yeah. So let's not poke the bear.
If you're watching, mate, patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle. Come on for an exclusive one-on-one where we can berate you. Okay, Shay Now that Andy's anonymous Xenoblade Manifesto emailer has outed as emailing every outlet about their upcoming 7 out of 10 Xenoblade Chronicles X review, do you have any other bizarre or funny website comment or stories that you can share? Just for context, go on, I think it's on Reset Era. It was posted on, it's posted all over social media. Some talented individual has emailed people that they presume are reviewing Xenoblade with 50,000 words of advice about how to review a game, and this has been shared widely. So go and check that out for the context of this. I have had people, and this is kind of increased since companies have been more like, you can say you're reviewing the game. As soon as you do that, you open yourself to people DMing you, being like, well, you better not give this a woke score. The worst of them was The Last of Us 2, because we got that game so early. It was like, because it was the pandemic and the game got delayed because they couldn't ship physical copies. I had that game like 2 months early or something like that. And obviously, because a lot of that game leaked way before even reviewers got it, people were DMing me trying to spoil the game. And it's like, mate, I've completed it. I've completed it like twice at this point because I had so much time with it. Have you two ever had any mentalists like that?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's been part of the gig for me, like, especially like even going back to the official Nintendo magazine days when obviously you were writing for a younger audience, and when you get the readers who start turning like 14, 15 and suddenly decide, I've got the power to cause trouble for people now, so that's when you start getting the abusive emails and stuff, because they think like, oh, I'll show this prick, and so yeah, it's been something that's been. It's just part of you grow a thick skin to it, and it's just like, yeah,
one of my favourite things about our audience is that they're generally older Donnies that are no into that kind of stuff anymore, but they're still pure into games. Like, it's that perfect kind of mix. Because I mean, touch wood, there's been like 0 dafties that have made it into the inner sanctum. Sam B's a bit of a dafty, but that's more a personal issue with him. Ryan Cobain, I mean, the less said about him, the better. It's a weird job to have. People like us shouldn't have as many eyes on us as we do. Like, it's such a weird thing to explain to someone. It's like, oh, what's your job? Well, I write about games and potentially millions of people are going to see this thing and then think it is on them to tell me why I'm a stupid bastard. It's an odd one.
It's at the end of the day, you can overthink it and overanalyze it, but at the end of the day, we're consumer advice, and that's basically we're the review is basically, do we think this is good or not? Yes or no. The end. If you can't, we're not wrong. Every review we've ever written has been correct because it's our opinion.
Apart from your Battle Wonderworld,
that was correct. I stand by it. Like, you have the right to. Was it Voltaire who's wrongly credited with? I will defend to my death.
This is it. This is
the point. The point is, that's the whole quote.
Can someone make one of those quote images of Chris Gillian doing that Voltaire quote, please? The
general gist of what Voltaire was saying was that you can say what you want, like you can talk shite all you like, but I'm allowed to say you're talking shite. I'm sure that was.
Yeah, that was the gist. Yeah. Right, boys. Corona's back. You made last week's quiz look easy, but it's back and it's meaner. Here are more noteworthy paragraphs from VGC reviews over the years. Can you tell me what game it's from? As always, feel free to skip if it's too long. Cron, you're the content engine of this podcast at the minute. Game number 1. Quote, losing to the first boss, which you will almost inevitably do the first time, can be a disheartening experience if it was a struggle for you to even reach it in the first place. Given that the game by its very nature has no checkpoints and you have to start all over again.
Returnal.
I
was thinking Returnal, but who reviewed Returnal?
I reviewed Returnal. I gave it a 4. I don't recognize that, but it could be any kind of procedure. It could be any roguelike. But let's go Returnal. Me, 4 out of 5. Reviewed
by Chris. Score 4 out of 5. Answer. There's another incorrect review. Returnal was a 5 out of 5 if there ever was.
I think I've just summarised why it wasn't.
That's actually inaccurate because you don't lose your pro. There's plenty to gain on that first run, and also you shouldn't be losing to that first boss. Game number 2. Every enemy, including the screen-filling bosses, has a parry indicator, which, if timed correctly, will allow a window of opportunity to punish the enemy, dealing massive damage. Larger enemies and bosses often require chained parries in order to leave them in a vulnerable state. I think that's me purely based on screen-filling, because I like that term.
Yeah, that's definitely a Jordanism.
Yeah. What
screen filling and padding.
Yeah.
Explaining standard gameplay mechanics in detail.
Well, you know what our audience is like. Sorry, Chris, we can't all write 4,000 word reviews on 3 out of 5 games. Larger enemies and bosses will often require chained parry. What the hell is this going to be? I reviewed some of it at a push, so
Let's get big bosses. Bayonetta.
I didn't review Bayonetta.
Do you not?
No. Any ideas, Andy? Screen filling bosses?
Yeah, there's loads of games with screen film, like an Elden Ring or something.
It'd be like what's the Curry Tecmo thing? Woe long is it? What is it?
Oh, Wolong Fallen Dynasty? Oh, that
Yeah,
might
something
actually
like
be a shout. Reviewed by Jordan. The score will give it away. 3 out of 5. I think you might be right, Andy. The answer is Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Very nice. Very
Undefeated.
nice. Game number 3.
To be fair, I do sub all the reviews.
Yeah, for your sins. Game 3. There are improvements to be made, but despite these criticisms, what's here represents a compelling revival for the Blank series and the best campaign since Blank handed over the reins. I guarantee you this is Halo Infinite.
Yeah, it sounds like me as well.
Yeah, I think it is. Andy, 5 out of 5, Halo Infinite. That's my guess. Yeah. And Andy and Jordan?
Oh, you probably did the multiplayer tag team.
4 out of 5, and it was Halo Infinite. Yeah.
And it was 4 out of 5.
I thought it was 5 out of 5. Halo Infinite's a good game, man. It
is a good game. It is a great game, yeah.
I got unfairly humped.
I think it came out at an unfortunate time.
Yeah.
I think the pandemic killed that. You remember when it came out, everyone was raving about how good the multiplayer was as well. Yeah. And then they just left it to die.
Yeah.
And the campaign stuff was like just never expanded upon. I guess the best Halo campaign since Reach.
So cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah. That's a shame. Game number 4. Ultimately, like with all music, whether or not you get anything out of the type of music itself is very dependent on personal taste, but in terms of the tone of the game it's going for, it fits perfectly. I think this is a trick. I bet this isn't, Chris.
Because I don't recognise that, the rest of it. I recognise Ultimately, that's all.
Like with all music, whether or not you get anything out of the type of music itself is very dependent on personal taste.
It still sounds like Chris to me.
I'll go for a score hint first. It's a 4 out of 5, so it's probably Chris.
And it's about music.
It's not like the Avicii game, is it?
It's a good game. It's a good game. God rest.
There you are. Oh, it's my shout again.
I don't remember reviewing that for us, did I?
I think you did, or someone did.
I would have given it a 4 as well.
Here's a reviewed by hint. It's reviewed by me. Ultimately, like with all music, whether or not you get anything out of the type of music it's music.
Well, you wouldn't have.
Is he plucked out a metaphor?
Yeah,
and it's not actually music related at all. I think he's just throwing that in because it starts with Ultimately, and he wanted us to guess it was me.
But what kind of game? I thought maybe Metaphor because that has mental music, but that was a 5, I think.
You didn't review. What was that platform game about music? The colourful platform game.
Oh God, I've no idea.
I can't remember it at all, but there was a colourful platform game where you're like, I don't know, you're like a DJ or something. Like one of you's a DJ and one of you's like a rock star. I can't.
This is difficult.
This is difficult. I don't think we're going to solve this. What is it?
Let's just go for it. He stumped us.
It is Hi-Fi Rush. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that's fair enough.
Actually, that's a 4 out of 5.
The memorable Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's kind of high. But alas. Game number 5. Although it's a very linear game, the environments are full of side paths or rooms compelling you to explore, meaning you're constantly engaged with exploration while always moving forward towards the next attraction. And with the next set piece never far away, it's nearly impossible to fall into your comfort zone. This reads like Chris to me.
It could be anything.
Attraction is not a word I would reach for, is my thing.
Me neither, though, to be fair.
Set piece is a word, is one of my go-tos.
That's an Andy review then.
It doesn't say
That
software anywhere.
That could be one of a number of games, though. It's pretty.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
not
vague
not
descriptor.
Yeah,
Let's get a score here. It's a 5 out of 5.
I think it might be me, but
Yeah.
you can't. There's no way you can get anything out of that.
What 5s have you given?
I don't bloody know.
Environment-
Most of the stuff I give is a high score.
Environments full of side paths and rooms. Is this like a...
That sounds like you. Is that God of War Ragnarok?
Princess Peach. Sure.
I thought this would maybe be like an RPG.
I'm going for God of War Ragnarok. I'm Jordan.
Okay. Reviewed by Hint. Andy.
Oh shit!
It's quite a long title.
Oh, is it Metroid Dread?
Oh, the title's way too long for that. A linear game with side paths. You couldn't call Wonder a game that has like rooms and side paths, would you?
Well, I only
Mario
review
Wonder?
Nintendo stuff, really, so it probably is Nintendo.
Like a Zelda game or something.
I did Tears of the King. Did you do Breath of the Wild, Andy?
No, that's before we launched.
Yeah, we went around.
I did Tears.
Go for it.
so-
Pull the plaster off and see what
It
it is.
is Resident Evil 4 2023. Did I not review that game? Oh no, I did guides for it. I was like, I'm sure I was playing that. Jesus Christ. The memory
Stumped us
hole.
there more than last time. That was a trickier one than last time.
Finally,
Although, to be fair, that's because some of them were so generic.
finally, I've checked every single Chris Scullion review on VGC. How
Both of them?
many times has he started a thought with ultimately? Now, he doesn't give us...
At least he's cruel now.
I'm going to say he's done it 50 times. This has started a thought, so it could feature
50
multiple times.
Oh, so is that a number or is it a percentage?
50 times, I think you've done it across all your reviews for VGC.
I don't know how many reviews I've done though. I'll go lower than that because there'll come a point. There
So
comes.
I'm
a point
gonna
where
go 51.
I'll go say
Fucking knew
49.
you were going to do that.
I'm going to say 49 because there are times when I mentally go, I'm writing ultimately. I've done ultimately the last review. I'll not do it this time, so I'm consciously not. So let's, I would say 49.
Okay, the answer is... Oh, okay. You've done it in 14 out of 67 reviews. That's not bad. And 21% of your reviews, you've started a thought with ultimately.
I've got a wee task.
Okay.
For next week.
Cron, listen up.
Can we do a similar crawl of Jordan reviews that contain the word incredibly?
I knew you were going to do that. I absolutely knew it. I absolutely knew it. Can we do a crawl?
I'm bringing you down, Mimi.
Can we do a crawl?
Let's be honest, it's not the most entertaining of games, is it? How many times? Oh, 7.
How many times did I use the word there?
I mean, the humorous part was the idea of the game, right?
Yeah.
We'll be back next
But yeah,
week.
good.
with
But
more
they're really good. They are.
deconstructing
I like those.
If you're in the
good, I like
Discord
it.
and have a suggestion for the last 10 minutes of this podcast, put it in there because it'll get to a Thursday night and I'll go, shite, we've got a podcast to do tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining us. If you'd like more, patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle. Straight after this, we're going to record our off-topic podcast, which I'm sure will be full of merriment and joy, which you can get on patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle. Thank you for joining me, boys. Say goodbye, Andy.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Chris.
Goodbye, Chris.
And we'll see you next time.